Well, thank you all for joining with us today. I'll give you a little bit of background, and Karen, you can chime in. Karen and I have been having a few conversations over the last few weeks. And as we've talked about what's going on in the world. And, it was good to hear from her, her Black perspective, and I gave my white perspective on some of that. And one of the things that we realized is just about the only thing the media is focusing on is the negative side of what's going on, as opposed to, there's got to be positive things happening out there that are just being ignored by the media. And so we thought, well, let's have a conversation and invite people in so that we can have, a positive chat to talk about things that will encourage us instead of discourage us.
I couldn't agree with you more, Steve, on that. I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were feeling very downtrodden because it's exactly what you said. All they have been hearing is nothing but negative, negative, negative. And so we kind of talked a little bit about why it's so important to distance yourself from the negativity. Even when things are going, kind of crazy around you, you still have to distance yourself because it will affect you even when you don't think it will.
So there's got to be a lot of acts of kindness out there that we can mention and encourage one another, so that this conversation is pretty much open. As you guys think of things, feel free to share them.
I want to share something, Steve. Really, what color are we talking about, and what is it? I have yet to meet. I have so many Black friends, and I've yet to meet anybody who is, either thinks that they do not matter or are told that they don't matter. We all matter, and definitely they do, right? I cannot imagine the richness of my experience of my life so far in America without the contribution and without the friendship of the Black friends that I have. It is so important for me. I'm also a person of color. We all go through subconscious biases. We have them, in fact. It would be a lie if we say that we don't have those biases, right? But the idea is to evolve as a human being. Like, if I catch myself having a bias, it is my duty towards myself to really outgrow of that and to really understand why is it that I'm thinking the way I am, and what has that person actually done to be thought about like that, right? So if we don't think and don't take it upon ourselves, I think this is just going to multiply, but for what? Like, there are so many beautiful people out there that are fighting for their rights, if you will, which they should have already had. You know what I mean? And I'm sure, you guys can have a different perspective because you've lived in this country longer. But I do know that, coming from India, I have not had the privilege of having many Black friends back then when I was there. But as soon as I came here, it was this diversity that really attracted me. I wanted to be friends with Black friends and white. I wanted to be that, and I hesitate to use the word Black because it is now, it has a different tone to it, which I don't want. I want to say that they're all beautiful people. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Absolutely, Falguni. I want to just touch a little bit on something that you said repeatedly, and it is so absolutely true. Personal accountability. I think when people start looking at personal accountability, then you take the spotlight off of everybody else around you and you shine it back on yourself. And it really forces you to, I highlight how you really are internally when nobody else is around, or even when people are around, but no one's inside of your head.
Right.
So people don't know exactly how you feel. They don't even know the context for why you're feeling that way. Only you do. But we all collectively have a level of personal accountability in terms of how we show up and how we interact with one another. And it even supersedes the different types of messages that we've been taught or the way that people have treated us. If we don't start to take hold of our own personal accountability, just like you said, we're still going to have a lot of these problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely think that it comes down to our own self and how we think and what we are projecting out, because, you know, it just kind of has a multifold effect. It will definitely, you know, that clarity of thought and that awareness of self will definitely show up and it'll multiply.
So Karen, let me have you share about your police neighbor across the street.
Yeah, how interesting is this with, gosh, all of this kind of stuff that's been just underneath the surface coming to the top and exploding around police and how they treat Black people, and this notion that that police in general may not always be so good. I have a police officer who lives across the street from my kids and I, and he happens to be white. And we've lived here for almost 4 years. And when we moved in and when we were moving in, he and his wife were quick to come and introduce themselves to us. And he just was like, I just want to let you know I'm a police officer. So, you know, I try to look out for everyone here. You've moved into a great neighborhood, but if you ever have any problems, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. That's really sweet. But let me tell you how awesome he is. Over the years, it is like he frequently will check in with me. He'll either stop over to the house as he's getting ready to go to the store, or he'll text me, or he'll call me. He's always checking in on me just to see how I'm doing, because he knows that, one, I'm a single parent. And, you know, I've been blessed with some really great kids, but still I'm a single parent and I'm a woman at that. So he knows it's important to, sometimes I might have some needs of a male, or I might have a situation that needs a little bit of extra help. So he is always checking in. He sometimes, when he's in his driveway and he sees me out checking the mail, he'll go, "Hey Karen, how's it going? I just want to touch base with you. I'm just checking in. Do you need anything?" He's gone to the store to get milk, and before he leaves, he'll call me. He'll say, "Hey, I'm at the store. What do you need?" And, you know, obviously I'm good, but just the fact that he is willing to do this, and this is who he is. His job does not define who he is. And even if it did, he is still a fantastic police officer. And I wish people would recognize our jobs are not who we are, first and foremost. And it really comes from the condition of your heart. He and his wife have such huge, huge hearts. And they came over to our house over the weekend before my daughters graduated, showered them with a bunch of love and some gifts. And she said, "You two are my family." How beautiful is that? I mean, just fantastic.
Great story.
So I'm sure there's other people, I'm sorry, Steve, but I was just going to say, I'm sure there are other people, because really at the core of our call today, Steve and I really, really wanted to give other people opportunities to share their stories that they see of people doing something really positive. And it doesn't have to be anything giant, but just the little things that sometimes go unnoticed by the masses. We want to put a spotlight on that, because it's the collective stories of positivity that can really impact even one person. So I know for sure, I'm very interested to hear what kind of positive things have you all witnessed.
Well, you know, Karen, I try to find this every single day. You know, I don't know if you know, some of you do know me, some of you don't. Let me introduce myself. My name is Gabriel Leal. I host my own live streaming broadcast show that I air 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday. And one of the things that I always push and stress is positive energy. Um, Creativity and positive energy. These are the two things that I really concentrate on. So I go out and I find folks who have a lot of this message to share. And it's always such a thrill whenever I find people, again, that you wouldn't expect to find out in the world doing so many wonderful things. I mean, the gentleman that I had on the other night, his name is Chinudu Ikawoba. He started a foundation in Africa called Africa Unite, and he did this by helping orphan kids who were working. I mean, they were working for 50 US cents, $1 a day, hauling money and everything, just so they can get an education. And I'm not talking about like college education, just a regular education, an elementary school education. They were having to pay for it because they have to subsidize their education there. And he was taking money out of his own pocket, even while he was struggling to make it, to help other people learn, to grow, to develop. And to me, that was one of the most amazing things that I had heard. And it really put a lot of things into perspective about what we can do as people here, as a society. A lot of the things that we take for granted here, that I know that there's so many people out there in this world, in our own country, that have the heart to do this. And that's part of the things that I've been pushing for, is to find these people. Everyday regular people that have stories like this sometimes, and to bring them and spotlight them and showcase them and show exactly the world that there is a lot of good. Because again, you don't have to look too far to find the negative aspect of life. It's just about everywhere if you want to look at it. So, I've kind of said to myself,
1 minute.
when I talk to people and when I look for people to interview, that's one of the things that I stress. I want to share your positive light. So, and two of the people that I see on here, I've actually had on my show. Lori's been one, Steve has been another, and of course I've seen Karen. She's been on with Russ Johns, and that's the thing that I love, is this community of beautiful people who, again, are out there sharing kindness, sharing compassion, showing empathy, showing the world that there's so much out there, more than what we expect to see. Because
Turn the bright light off, Violet.
yeah, so one of you can turn on your nightly news and you can find all the bad every single day that you want. No, concentrate on that. So what I try to do is I try to be counterculture. I try to be different. I try to bring positive aspect, and I got to pound it every single day. Because I think I equate it to, you have to have about 4 hours of positive energy to equal what 30 minutes of negative energy can do to you. You really have to work at being positive. I mean, so if you take the time and the effort every single day, and I understand it's hard, believe me. I just went through a period right now, about 4 or 5 days, where I had to reevaluate myself. I do this all the time. At least about every 25 episodes so far, I take a time and I reevaluate what I do. What is it doing? How is it impacting? How can I improve? How can I grow? These are all things that I look at, and I try to focus on that. And then I try to find the people who are the same way, who can help lead other people into that world of wanting to change their lives and that sort of thing. So it is a lot of work, but it's a passion. I make no money from it. I don't get anything from it at this point. I work 2 jobs. I learned so much from so many different people every single day. I mean, Steve, when he was on my show, he kind of schooled me a little bit, and that was fun because I had to learn something. But again, that's what you got to do. You're a constant learner, and that's a lot of times what I really like to concentrate on life. So, and I had a big roundtable about talking about all the stuff that was going on in the world, all the negativity, and we came together just to try to talk about understanding and reaching out. it's difficult sometimes to talk about those issues, but they are the issues that have to be brought to the forefront, because that's how we at least start putting out the olive branch, start building a bridge, not putting up a wall. These are some of the difficult things that we have to deal with, and
No.
that's where we are right now in this country. But it doesn't mean that's going to be our future. We can change whatever, but it has to start somewhere. We all got to start pushing. And yes, that's my agenda, is to push that every single day. And there's days that I know that I don't feel like it, but again, that's where you find people in this world who kind of help uplift you when you need it. And it's a whole cycle. So, I
So
think
Gabriel,
it's so beautiful.
yeah,
Go ahead, Steve.
let me break in here and greet Paula Pinto. Great to have you come on. I don't know how many of you know Paula. I've had a chance to talk with her a while ago. She's a great writer, working out of New York City. What else should we know about you? Oh, you got a beautiful little daughter, right?
Oh,
Is she on mute?
yeah.
Yep, you're unmute. Let's see if I can get you to unmute.
Yeah, you might want to send her a message.
There she goes. All right.
There she goes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's good. So I'm coming to the completion of homeschooling for the first time.
Woohoo!
Yeah. As you know, I'm in New York, and we were pretty hard hit with coronavirus here. And I was sharing with Karen the other day, something that really touched me in this whole process was one of my daughter's teachers, her dad had suddenly passed away from COVID. And about 4 days later, she returned to work because she felt like these students were already going through enough transitioning, and she didn't want to totally disappear on them. So she would come on screen here or there. And about 3 days ago, she showed up at our house with 5 cars full of teachers, streamers, balloons, a huge billboard congratulating my daughter on her graduation. And I stood there just wanting to cry, just out of the love and compassion that was coming off of this woman who has been going through so much herself. And my daughter's smile was beyond what I could even explain to you on this video. And so was the teachers. And sometimes I've learned that even in our trials, when we try to extend ourselves to someone else and go above what we feel like we're capable of doing, we also wind up helping ourselves through that. So, and I think that that's what's been happening with her teacher. She's been talking about how it's been helping her to heal during this process. And I'll shut up now.
No, it's good. Thank you for sharing.
I could keep talking and talking, so you guys just be quiet.
Paula, thank you. Thank you, Paula, for sharing that story, because when you shared that with me the other day, I mean, it brought me to tears, because that's exactly the kind of positive, uplifting messages that we want to hear. And quite honestly, we need to be hearing more of those. You know, there is a lot of chaos that is unfolding before our very eyes, but that does not have to dictate the way we go through our day. And when we hear these positive, uplifting stories, those are the types of things that just brings this unspeakable joy within us, and it just wells up, and it just kind of powers us and helps us to keep moving forward. We're like, if they can do that, I can do a little bit more myself. So thank you so much for sharing that story.
Thank you, Karen.
Can I share a similar story that I have? I'm in Staten Island, so I'm not that far from you, Paula. My
Wow,
son's
yeah.
graduating 8th grade, and yeah, it's been rough go of it. And I first of all, I just want to point out that New York City public school systems as a whole really stepped up in terms of having to get their stuff done. Like, oh, by the way, we're closing schools, and like 40 seconds later, they had everything up and running. So I have to commend them for that. But last Wednesday, was supposed to be their prom. And they rescheduled it for September and whatnot, but they felt that they're missing out on so much that they decided to have a parade. So they went to the school, and all the teachers stood at the school. They had "We Miss You" in balloons, and we were standing there. They had like the car parade, you know how they have the car thing now, you drive by kind of thing. And they had this parade, and we saw all the teachers, and we're standing there waiting for this parade to start. And all the teachers like, "Oh my God, hi!" And you can just see that they were so excited to see the kids and everything. And I thought it was going to be like whatever. Like I wasn't expecting much, and it really lifted us all up, I think, to this degree that we hadn't been in quite a while, and everything had happened with Mr. Floyd right before this too. So it was almost like kind of we all needed that little moment to have and just be like, you know what, there is some good. We can shine the light on some good, you know, and the world isn't necessarily coming to an end, kind of a thing. It was really, really awesome, quite frankly.
Anybody else? Come on. I'm sure we got stories.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm loving the stories. I'll just say, first of all, hello everyone. My name is Rob. I'm Rob House, and I guess in a nutshell, I'm a empowerment artist, humologist, and a philanthropist. You know, I like to empower people, humans, and technology. I'm really excited about, and of course, giving is the number one thing that I love to do. And that's interesting. We were all talking about giving, how we've been impacted by it. And giving has an amazing component to it. Giving impacts the giver, the person who got the gift, and whoever's watching. So negative and positive energy work the same way. And what we're realizing in this chaos, in this horrific situation that has happened, it has brought us all to the same plane. It's awoken us or awaken us. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks. Like, which word should we use here? Awoken or awaken? But we have been. Okay, we are the awoke. Okay, it's like we cannot unsee now. What I'm loving about this is I feel as if Brother Floyd sacrificed his life for humanity. And this is not about Floyd. We respect and we love and we hate what happened to him. This is about the moment and what the purpose is. And Brother Floyd's his life was sacrificed to bring us to this realization, which quite frankly, we should have come through a long time ago. But what happens when you repeat something over and over, it becomes a habit. It's habitual, just like our behavior. We do 90% of the same things. We don't even know we're doing it because it's a habit. And so we become habitually numb to what was happening. But my point is this, though. The good is, you know, it's the people, the community, and the economy. This is what you need to focus on. The people, making sure they're loving themselves and loving each other. The community, make sure we're taking care of our small businesses. We're taking care of our churches, our nonprofits. We're lifting up our kids, our schools. We have reform for not just economics, but our precincts. Then you have, and then you have the economy, which the people, the community, and the economy, the people in the community create the economy. And I was thinking, like, okay, so I know this is a big problem, and I know it's not going to be overnight, because Martin Luther King, once Rosa Parks stood up in 1955, Martin Luther King got down there, but it wasn't until 381 days later until they actually passed that bus boycott was successful. And it wasn't until 10 years later when we got the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. So it took time, but the difference between now and then is technology. See, before we couldn't, it wasn't as transparent. And I believe transparency that's going to allow us to rectify the problems quicker. Like put statutes and bills and processes in place to stop whatever is happening. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And I know we're going to do it because I'm watching it. And I'm watching people stand up. I saw a weird stat, last thing I'll say, a really weird, beautiful stat. And it was like, 70% of non-Blacks say that there is systemic racism in this country. And before it was only like 20, meaning what that means is that mainly like people who were not Black, they didn't acknowledge that racism even existed because they didn't see it. Like, so if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. So therefore you can't do anything about it. But this has caused everyone to see. You can't unsee what you've seen. So now the statistics are up about those recognizing it is a problem, and we've now come together to rectify it. So that gets me pumped up, and I will be quiet on mute now. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but no, really, to your point, that's wonderful what you were saying, Rob. And here's the thing: I've been telling people, if you want to become the change that you want to see in the world, you have to go start doing things, and you don't have to be Martin Luther King. You don't have to be Gandhi. You don't have to be these people to step up and do these things. You can start at the local level, right? You can go
Yeah.
out there, register voters. You can go
Yeah.
run for local office. Start at the local level where you can really make impact. I talked to a judge in Georgia last Saturday, and that was one of the things that we talked about, getting into these positions of leadership where we can actually make impact.
Yeah.
That's how
it.
we're going to start from the ground. That's how we're going to start from the ground level up and make the change that we want to see in the world. If we're tired of seeing these things, we have to become, not everybody can be a general. We have to have foot soldiers down on the floor. That's how wars are won. This is not saying that this is a war, but we have to start doing something to change how this culture and how this society interacts
Absolutely.
with each other. If we want to create unity, and we really want to see change that even that I hopefully might see in my lifetime, but I know that my children and my grandchildren will see, I have to start now.
Yeah.
And it has to start now.
Oh yeah. I'm with you.
But isn't it also about having a conversation? I mean, not just about
Yes.
doing something. Isn't it also important to have that? Because I know my kids are 18 and 14. So I'm having that conversation with my kids.
Oh man,
and they know, like, I grew up in Brooklyn. I went to a high school right outside of Coney Island. So there was literally every color in the rainbow when I went, and I graduated 34 years ago. That's obnoxious. But anyway, whatever. I digress. But like literally, like it never dawned on any of us. Like there was no metal detectors, like none of that was going on when I went to high school. And it was literally, and I had a protector. I mean, he was a football player. He's a big black football player. I had gotten a chain ripped off my neck, and he decided to take it upon himself to protect me. Like it was just, he decided it was his job. He walked me home from school every day for the 3 years I was in high school. It was amazing, but like we didn't see anything. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no barrier, if you will. But now with everything going on, our kids, you talked about social media, Rob, it's good and bad. Technology could be used for good or evil at this point.
Absolutely.
I can't shield my kids from anything. They're on Snapchat, they see it immediately.
Yep.
So it's like you have to have the conversation. And I told my daughter many times, like Martin Luther King was, the year I was born, 68. I mean, like, and we're still having this conversation. So it's a little bit of education, I think, is important. Conversation, I think, and like, especially for me, like education, that's what I've been doing this last few weeks personally, is educating myself as to what has, because I thought I knew things and I didn't. I mean, honestly.
Me too. Me too, actually, which is weird as a black man. Like I was actually unaware of how sensitive other black people were. And so you get into this thing where you start to now have issues with your own race because they have a certain perspective and it's a very sensitive subject. And if they take things out of context, now you have this unnecessary, really time-wasting, distracting debate amongst people who really want the same thing. So you're right.
Yeah.
It's the conversation.
That's so true.
The conversation is big. Yes. Great point.
So I have 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I was happy to know that they didn't understand the difference between the different skin colors and what that truly meant, which was a good thing. But then I also needed to have this conversation with them at this point because they were looking at the news and they were trying to understand what is happening. Like they're seeing all the lootings, they're seeing everything that is happening and were wondering what is happening. So I sat them down, had a conversation, and I told them to remember if they have any friends that, they thought differently about. And luckily they did not, but they have so many different, friends that are from different races in their school. So it was a great thing. So, however, what we did to make an impact was that there is one teacher for one of the 5-year-old that is a black woman. So we wanted to make her feel good. So we all, parents, we all came together, made some nice little cards, and on our next Zoom call, we had her, we had all the kids tell her that she mattered, and oh my God, the tears were rolling down her eyes and she was so happy. I think if we can even let one person know that they matter, I think we can make a difference, because she was so happy. She keeps on, sending out thank yous and like, oh my God, that was beautiful. And she let her family know. I think there is a ripple effect of that. So if we can even touch one person, I think that's going to be good. And we can keep on doing that, every single day and every time we can. So it's really beautiful that all of these things are happening, because it's also bringing out the good in people. I think Gabriel, Rob, you were talking about, how if we all can make a difference, and we all have to bring out the positives. It's about really highlighting that, because media is doing their part of highlighting the negatives. We don't need to do that, right? We need to do the opposite of what is not being done, which is spread positivity. And I think we can do that. Each and every one of us, including my 5-year-old, could make a difference. So what is our excuse, right?
Right. I love
Yeah.
that.
So
What's our excuse?
I want to
Yes.
I want to jump in for a second here, because I want to share from two different perspectives here.
Come here,
Last
Daisy.
week, I don't know how many of you saw my video that I shared after it was so funny and weird after I'd had a call with Steve. I don't really go on Facebook that much, but I'm hosting a support group on there, and so I just happened to go on. And somebody that I'm connected to, not in that group, but on my wall, had shared something that was just very disturbing to me, a challenge that's being spread around the country and whatnot. And it was very, very upsetting to me. And so, of course, in the rawness of my emotions, I made a video that I posted to LinkedIn. And it was basically saying, if you don't understand why there's so much outrage, just take a moment and just scroll through social media and see the disgusting things that are being put out there, about somebody who's died right now. And so what was so beautiful to me was the outpouring of support that has come back to me. I was a little concerned at first to post, because I knew it was very emotionally charged, and I used the word white people in there, but not from the standpoint that I hate white people, because I surely don't. I mean, most of my friends are white. My ex-husband is white, so I have 5 kids. They're half white, half black. So if I hated white people, I'd be hating half my family. That is not even possible for me. But I used that word, and so before I posted the video, I thought, oh gosh, I'm probably going to make some people mad. But it was so important that I make everybody aware, if you didn't know, why there's so much tension and excitement in the air over these racial issues, and the outpouring of support and the love that was poured back into me. My goodness, by Friday night, I was left crying, because the love was so overwhelming that was coming back into me. And so I was thinking over the weekend, I've got to do something to just try to say a little bit of thank you to some of these people. And on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, someone sent me a video on Facebook that Brian Schulman has since posted on LinkedIn, which I absolutely love Brian, because that video is so him. But I don't know the gentleman that sent it, but it's basically saying, you are awesome. Somebody sent it to me, and when I was listening to that short video, which is like 56 seconds long, but it's like a personal video saying, you are awesome, it just fed right into the love and support that I've been receiving. And it made me feel so good that I said, you know what, normally I don't forward stuff like that, but in that moment, I just felt God say, pass this to as many friends as you can. And as I was doing that, all these people, some of them I haven't spoken to in a while, they're like, oh, Karen, what? Oh my gosh, you just made my day. And every time somebody responded back with, you just made my day, it made me feel so good. Like, you can't put a price tag on the joy that I had. And I'm still riding on that wave of goodness and excitement and joy. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, this guy started something. I need to try to come up with something on my own, because people call me the encourager. Surely I can think of something that I can start passing around here, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But the point is, thinking about when you share that love, one person started that for me after Friday, and all the people that have poured into me since I posted that video on LinkedIn. I mean, there aren't enough words to say thank you. And it just reaffirms my notion that it's not about the color of the skin, it's about the condition of the heart.
Amen.
At the end of the day, that is what it comes down to. We all born with a heart that was made in the image of God. And I'm not going to turn this into church service, so don't worry about that. But I merely want to say that when your heart is filled with his love, you don't see the color of the skin. Because I raised my kids who are half white, half black. We don't see color.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately for them, though, because of me, a black woman who is their mother, they have always been told that they're black. They're not even the same shade that I am, but
No.
they always had to deal with that. And somebody asked me before I ever became a parent, one of my longest friends, she's white and she is married to a black man. And before they got married, we had a conversation and she said, Karen, you know, I'm so excited about getting married, but I don't ever want to become a parent. And she's a beautiful person. And I thought, well, that's really a weird thing to say. And so I asked her why. And she said, because I don't think I can handle any of the problems that any children I have are going to have because of my husband. And I looked at her and I told her, I said, well, it doesn't matter to me whether I marry a black man or a white man or whatever color. In America, I am a black person. And so whatever children I have, they will always have some kind of issue because of me. And that's unfortunate that I'm telling you that, but I tell you that, and this is a conversation I was having with her. I'm telling you this because if you love your husband, don't worry about what kind of problems come up. It's the love that's going to help fuel you to teach your children about loving one another, loving other people, and love drowns out hate every single time, every time. When we have enough people in this country, when we have enough people around the world that are moving and responding out of love, it totally wipes out the power of hate. And really, there's not that many people that hate other people in this country, but those are the ones who have been given a platform. And by us being desensitized and by us keeping our mouths quiet and not doing what we can in our own way. And as you said, Gabriel, it's not about being Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Rob, you said it as well. It is about just doing that one little thing. One little thing is all it takes. And you can look around you and see plenty of people that are doing their part by doing one little positive thing to make an impact on somebody else because they have a heart that's filled with love. And that's what I received since Thursday of last week. And it's still pouring in. And I'm like, I get up every morning and I'm like, I feel like I'm going to burst out of my skin because I'm so excited with joy and happiness that there are so many good people out there, that those few negative things that I saw that really touched my soul and made me so upset, they don't matter anymore. They only mattered in that moment, but they don't matter now. There's too much good, and we want to help more people push that good forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
I think
Yeah.
getting one person, just letting one person know that you matter is so powerful. And the magic of that, it can be totally experienced when we share this with. So I have since, all of this started, I've reached out to all of my Black friends. Some of my family members are also Black. I have reached out to them and just let them know individually that they matter. And oh my God, the difference that it has made to them and to me, because we also feel an expansion when we actually spread out love. So let's just truly believe that, we are doing this for us. We have to do this. We are all so connected that we cannot just live with this biases in mind and with all of this hate going out. I think all of this hate can be wiped, exactly as you said, Karen, by one thing, by sharing one little positive thing, by just letting them know that we love them and that they matter. I think really that is what it is.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Every grain of sand makes the beach.
Yes.
Every single one counts.
And one of the things that, like what you were talking about, Karen, seeing that negative thing on social media. Here's the thing. I was turned off by social media for a long time because of the negative things. And then I said, you know what? I have to use social media as a tool to fight back. So everybody here has the same ability. Everybody has a phone in their hand. Everybody has a camera. Everybody can turn it on and talk about being positive. Every single person here has the ability to do that every day. I do it 5 days a week because I know inside my heart that that's how I can change things, is being that way every single day. And sometimes I don't feel like it, but you know what? I know that there's a bigger, greater cause going on. And that's what inspires me. When I'm done having a conversation at the end of the day with people, you don't know how I feel. My heart feels so much better. I feel so much joy in it, knowing that there's somebody else out there like me willing to get on here and have a conversation and doing it. And I think that's the power of video and social media right now. If you have a phone, if you have a message, if you want to change this world and share what you're talking about and open the discussions, this is how it's getting done. Right here, right now, what we're talking about. So this is why I tell people, get on there, start talking. For every negative person that's on there who's ready to jump on there and spit hate, I need 10 people that are just as positive to drown that out. That's what we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sure.
You know, if
I just want,
if
can I
you-
interject a moment?
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. Also, what I found kind of strange was, we're still in phase 1 here. So here we are, we're just able to step out. And then my daughter's seeing a lot of these, well, not face to face, she's seeing some of the protests going on, which are peaceful where I am. But then there are more of the violent riots that are happening. And one thing I've constantly tried to do with her, and I think this is important as a parent, is show her that we're not going to treat anybody, whatever they're doing, black, white, Spanish, I don't care what they're doing. This is what we're doing, okay? And God made us all. So the same way, and Karen, I think, knows this, I'm very big on complimenting women. So if I see a woman, I'm like, wow, you have a great smile, or you have beautiful eyes. And so I encourage that with my daughter. So when she sees me do that now, even in all this chaos, she sees that I'm acting no different. So when I'm in a supermarket and there's a black lady in there, I'm still like, oh my gosh, I love your color eyeshadow. Where did you get that? That looks great on you. And it's these little simple things, and I see my daughter pick it up. So now we're in a store, and not that's the most interesting story in the world, but we have dolls of every color in this house. I mean, we have black dolls, white dolls, Asian dolls. She doesn't see it, and I think a big part of that is because I don't make it like it's any different to her. And I think it's important right now, as this is going on, to just keep instilling that in our children. Like, yes, this is happening. Yes, this is real, but we don't have to be part of this huge fight. I'm not going out there to fight someone that's a different color than us. I don't want you to fight one of your friends that's a different color than you. We're going to continue loving each other. That's what we do. And I just wanted to share that with you guys.
That's good. That's wonderful.
So beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So as I hear us talking, I hear us moving towards really a solution around the community of value and extending that to the individuals that we know. And there should be a groundswell of people in that group who can hopefully push out and silence those who would choose to hate. And the reality is, I don't know what we can do to get people to stop hating, but I know we can set a better example on loving as the right way to go about doing things.
Yeah,
Right.
for
I
sure.
keep thinking of the song, and I've actually posted this a couple of times on more on my Facebook and Instagram than on LinkedIn, and I think I did on LinkedIn too, but I kept thinking of the song last week, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. Anybody else know that song? And like, I really feel like, and I was looking up the words and everything, and I was like, you know what, that's kind of what we need. I don't think we need to stop the hate per se, because you know what, that's, we can try to stop it, but they have to, like Falcone was saying earlier, it's personal accountability. they have to know that they're hating and understand that that's what they're doing. So for us to say, listen, this is what you're doing, they may not care and they may not hold themselves accountable. But I think if we just spread love like butter, you know what I mean, and start singing like what and people were doing the Coke commercial from years ago, you know, I like to teach the world to sing, like that whole thing. I mean, I think that whole thing is really the whole point of it is bringing us together and showing people. I did the same thing you did, Falcone. I have a friend of mine, she had posted on Instagram tired, and she had from like 1963 to 2020, and all I did was send her a text, and I'm like, you know, just sending you love and hugs, like literally that's all I wrote. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, it was like, because I was like, she needed to be heard. Like, that was kind of what she needed. I think a lot of these people feel like they need to be heard, and just showing them love and just saying, hey, I hear you, or just sending you love hugs. That's what's going to drown out, I think, the noise. If
You're 100%. What it's as a fact, actually, Karen. It's as 100% fact what you said, and you're right. You will never be able to stop the hate, because in order for love to exist, hate has to exist. In order for one to exist, the other has to. Well, what our goal is now is to dilute the hate. And we dilute the hate by us individually loving intentionally, by us reflecting on our own behavior, by us having a conversation with our daughters and letting our children see how we are supposed to perform. You know, I was a pastor for 10 years, and I would tell people very often the greatest Bible, the only Bible people will ever read sometimes is just your life. Sometimes the only Bible people will ever read is your life. And that means they're looking at your actions. And so it's up to us as individuals to show people, to have the conversation and sometimes you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable for a second, have that conversation and then do the right thing. And I really believe with that, the collective, like these type of forums, the virtual forums, the bills that are being passed, and the action that's being taken. I'm super excited. I don't think it's going to take 10 years. I'm going to tell you something right now, and I'll wrap up with this. I believe in the next 10 years, we're going to eradicate hunger, homelessness, and poverty. Hunger, homelessness, and poverty. And people say, you're crazy. There's already technologies in place. The reason why we have these big gaps is because we didn't have connectivity. With the internet and with 5G and with total transparency and with our ability to actually rectify problems as fast as we can, if you would have told people 200 years ago, guess what? You're going to be talking to people on this device through invisible sound waves. They would have thought you were crazy. So I'm just saying, we're moving at an accelerated rate, and if we communicate like this, connected, I mean, you got compassion, you got connectivity, and you got collaboration. Those three things, we're dangerous, man. We're dangerous species doing that.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And you know, to your point, man, why is it unreasonable to think that these things can happen? You know, you tell people like this, and there's so much skepticism. That's part of the problem.
For a minute, because the sounds from that, okay?
Yeah, it sounds unreasonable, but again, so many things have happened that should put perspective in your mind. I mean, even coronavirus shut down a world economy. Nobody ever thought this could happen, and it happened. Right? And it happened. Mm-hmm. So if something like this can happen, what you're talking about can happen. It's just the opposite. Open your eyes. That's the mindset you got to have. That's the one you got to have. You know what? It is possible. If I can be part of it, I can make it possible. And that's all it really starts with. It's just taking that step.
The other piece is respect.
Yes.
You have to learn how to respect the differences that are out there, because when you learn how to respect the difference, you open up the door for understanding to come to the table. And that is where you begin to listen to what their side is, their perspective. And if they're offering you if they're also showing you respect, they're going to allow you to share your perspective. And somewhere in the middle, you will more than likely find a commonality that you can then begin to build something that will hopefully narrow the gap. You might not always be able to see eye to eye, and I don't think that that's necessary for people to coexist, but you have to have respect. Respect that we all bring different perspectives to the table. We all are uniquely created for purposes that most of us don't even understand yet. but we have to respect one another. And then when you respect yourself, and you go back to the golden rule of treat others how you want to be treated, if you love yourself, if you respect yourself, then hopefully you're going to do the same for others. You're going to respect them because you respect yourself and you want them to respect you. You're going to show love because you love yourself more than anyone else can, and you're hoping some people will try to emulate a little bit of that love that you have for yourself. So you operate from that level, but you have to be able to be respectful even if you don't agree. And that's something that I have not seen a whole lot of. I think when we start bringing that there, then you can begin to understand why and where there's problems.
Yeah, you hit upon
Yeah.
what I've seen over my lifetime where, you know, we used to teach people how to respect things. So, for example, you come to a graduation and maybe they have a prayer at the graduation and you're not into that or you're atheist. It used to be they teach you to have respect and say, well, that's not you, but it is for everybody else. And we moved into a realm where that person can stand up and say, don't enforce this upon me. And in a sense that they then create this issue of I get to say whatever should be, as opposed to us learning how to love each other and to treat each other in the way that we should treat each other. And I'd love to see us do more for the youth, because I think, Gabriel, as you said, social media is both good and bad, and the youth are finding their world living through social media.
Yep.
And so when they see people doing stupid stuff, they do it too. And we need to be showing kids good stuff that maybe then they would come out and think about doing good stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, listen, I have a 3 o'clock. If you're going to have a part 2 of this, I'm down. I love the discussion. It's great
Me too.
meeting everyone. And I really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. And Gabriel, I definitely want to be a part of what you're doing. I think it's about the message. I really believe it's about the message. So
yeah, I'll be in
God bless
contact with
you
you,
guys.
Rob, because
Okay.
I'm having group discussions as well. I have a second one coming up here on June 22nd. I'm doing these every 2 weeks to have these kind of discussions and build this forum, and I would love to have you participate because I love your message.
That's wonderful, brother. Appreciate it, man.
All right,
Thank you,
no
guys.
problem, guys. I got to run.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're so delighted that all of you guys took time out of your schedules to join us, and we are starting the process. And Gabriel, it's so wonderful to meet you, see your face, and I'm excited. I told Steve earlier today I was excited for this call, and I'm just excited because something good is going to come out of all of this. Something good always comes out of tragedy. And there's something good that is coming, and I can't wait to see what it is.
Absolutely. I could not agree more.
Does anybody have any other last words they want to say? Because we are coming up to the hour. There's no rush to end the call. But at the same time, you know, if you feel like there's other things you need to move on to, drop off. And thank you for joining us for however long you can.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for bringing all of these people together. It's just so beautiful to see people from all different races right here on this call agreeing upon the same message of respect and love. So I do think that it's just beautiful. And we are all 8 people on this call, all agreeing upon the same thing. I'm sure there are 800 out there that would have been happy to join us and share the same message. So I do think there is positivity out there. It just needs to be amplified. And I think we can all play a part in doing that in every single way that we can.
Also, I wanted to just touch upon a moment, just remembering that we're all individuals and we make individual choices.
Yes.
So let's say, for instance, and I know this is kind of touchy, especially what happened with the George Floyd incident. but to remember that these were two men, and this cop made an awful choice, but he doesn't represent all of white people. And so we could still respect other people that are white, and we could still respect other people that are Black. Like to not, when my daughter passed a police car, I tell her, I appreciate you, thank you. You know, regardless of what color they are. Like, let's keep enforcing that message that these were individual choices that created a lot of this mess. And so what are our individual choices going to be? Do we join that mess, or do we step outside of the mess and respect each other?
Lovely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I have to go in a second, but Paul, I want to piggyback on that for a second. We actually have a lot of friends who are cops. A lot of my son's friends are cops and whatnot. So we are having that conversation a lot in my house about the same, what you're saying, you know, the individual choices and whatnot. But to Karen, to your point earlier about respect, I think sadly that's lost big time now. And
yes.
I think we have to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. We have to bring it back because a lot of times people express an opinion and people say, well, your opinion is wrong, as opposed to, I respect your opinion, I disagree with your opinion, and here's mine.
Yes.
So I think that's very much lost.
Mhm.
And that's another conversation we're having because, you know, again, my kids see it on, you know, they live on Snapchat, and, you know, I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're allowed to speak your voice. Like, you're allowed to be heard. You're allowed to have your own opinion about something, but you have to then respect when somebody else doesn't agree with you. It's not about having your way all the time. You know, these kids think that they should have everything immediately because that's the way it is nowadays. You know what I mean? And so you have to have the conversation of the old school way of doing things in a way. You know what I mean? For lack of a better way to put it.
Yes.
You know, and that kind of a thing. So I think that's as important as spreading love is just as important as you